What's up, baseball glove buddies? Dave Wagner, Wagner Baseball Glove Repair, and this is a quick history of glove design video. I am working currently on a Wilson A2000 XXL, okay, made in Japan, but I want to show you some of the design elements that I don't know existed in many Rawlings almost up to this day, but I say that with a grain of salt because I haven't seen every glove ever built. Okay, I am not against Rawlings or huge Wilson. Okay, I'm showing you what I'm finding and showing you how much the design quality improved when Wilson started designing gloves in Japan. I have no idea about the leathers. Okay, so if you're going to say this leather's better than the one they made in Ohio, I don't know that. I'm just saying, look at the design improvements in just the first few years in XXC. So let's look at the web here quickly. This web is a classic 3-section H-web, okay? One of the first H-webs that we see that's built like this. There's the little D section at the bottom. You lace that in, that's separate. The middle section, independently set. The top section, independently set. Notice this. The off angle, little closure angle at the side of the web. That's designed that way to seal this top corner. That's not an accident. That's specific design. That does not show up on a lot of other gloves in that time or even later. We see the first, I believe, iteration of the power snap back. What's the advantage of this? Well, for one, you can set the tension on this if you wanted to create a better closing action, because if you make the wrist too stiff, there's too much down pressure here, you can't get the hand to actually function very ergonomically or efficiently. So you have this can move, and then you can set the tension here. Now, it also goes to the middle part. Now, here is a caveat. This didn't work really well for a long time because you see later on the custom fit strap was introduced. However, this design was innovative, ahead of its time, and Wilson still uses it once in a while today. Look at their first baseman's gloves, or A2800s, very similar power snap. So it is pretty effective. One thing that we see also is the introduction of a hidden pinky loop, a standard set pinky loop, not the adjustable thumb loop over here. Some people can't stand that. Some people like them. I'm just saying this is where you start to see it show up, because the made in USA A2000s, all of them that I've seen, I've probably seen and handled about 200, none of them have this. They're either loops that come out, or the more recent ones, the loop comes out again. But in the middle there, we had a lot where you had a standard loop with no tightening ability. So I guess the idea was you could tighten up this wrist enough where you wouldn't need this. This appears to be the answer to the fastback from Rawlings. There is no question that the fastback with the holster, the strap-down design from Rawlings, leaves a lot to be desired. Those pieces tear frequently. The pieces of brass or whatever is used there can corrode quite badly and eat through the leather and snap. Holsters are just not that comfortable, in my opinion. You may be different. Holsters compared to power snapbacks, nowhere near as comfortable. Later on, we see the wool backing put onto the power snap because some were complaining about the fit was a little bit too loose. So you can see the adjustment. What do we see later? Rawlings starts putting wool in the back of their fastbacks. Makes sense. We have the binding finger opening as opposed to the laced finger opening. Yes, over time, this does wear out. Yes, it initially doesn't feel quite as comfortable as a fastback. It's debatable. Okay. What else do we find? Well, check this out. You know what these are right here? Those are intentionally built. Those are off-center seams. You know why those are put there? So you don't split the crotch of this thing, because Wilson had actually been paying attention to all those A2000s they built in the U.S. where you had terrible tears in the crotch. So when they went to Japan, Japanese designer says, hey, we've got a solution that's going to at least cut that down. Not maybe stop it, but cut it down. And there it is, the off-center. Look, you see, on a Made in USA, I know you guys probably know what I'm talking about, but I'll belabor the point for just a minute. On the old USAs, this seam would connect right here at the crotch. Notice how it's intentionally sewn off-center on all the fingers. See that? So they don't quite meet. That's to prevent this from tearing. That's a design improvement. This glove, as far as I know, is the first glove to introduce the putting a lace across the back of the fingers to prevent the fingers from splitting apart. So not only just the off-center seam, but also a way to keep the fingers tight, or you can loosen it. Interesting. What else? Oh, if you know the insides of an A2K, you will see that this is quite familiar. This floating extra layer of leather, this leather is probably 2/3 as thick as this. So it's not one of these, pieces of paper that you put in now. But this is a nice thick piece of leather. Check out the cross drill for added weight, less resistance, so you don't feel any binding. And then you lace it in here. It doesn't lace in along the web, which is a little unusual. It laces in over here. So, it's interesting. And then we have some really high-end wool felt, and of course, full-length leather finger liners. These look the same as Rawlings did at the same time. The Rawlings Heart of the Hide at the same time would have had this. Rawlings now have way less leather. It's a whole different story. Sorry. I don't have an old Rawlings in front of you, but they would look almost the same this way. The felt quality here, it's a little bit finer grade of felt, wool felt, than you'd find in an equal age Rawlings. The equal age Rawlings had a tendency of their felt being a little more stiff. Sometimes they crack a little more. I do not have an old Pro T open in front of you, so you have to kind of take my word for it. Maybe you're going to hate me anyway because I'm saying Wilson is pretty good, but oh well, what am I going to do? What else do you see? Well, first examples, generally, of it's a full plastic piece. It goes from here to there, full. Look at this, pre-slits. They figured out that those USA made in the USA A2000s that had been cranked out had felt that was too thick. This is where you start to see two pieces used of slightly different density and some slits to help them bend. See that? This is like 1980s, early 1980s. And guess what? A full-length plastic shank in the pinky. Now, with modern high-density polyethylene, you can make something more durable and flareable, but these were quality items that were hidden. You wouldn't have known this by looking at this glove. It looked like a normal H-web. But I'm just trying to show you that Japanese glove design was a huge help in getting the U.S. out of some really ineffective and overbuilt designs. You need questions about that. Look at a lot of Spalding's designs from the 70s. I mean, some very strange and not very, just redundant patterns and kind of kooky ideas. Here you're starting to see some of that slimmed down, ultra performance form follows function type ideas. This is also the same period of time where you're starting to see Japanese automakers totally crushing U.S. automakers because they knew how to make a car that was fun, durable, and not expensive, that also could be fuel efficient. So think of this as kind of like a Datsun Z and a Heart of the Hide from Rawlings in the same time period, kind of more like, a souped-up Chevelle. So power and tough and heavy versus light, a lot of performance ideas being introduced here. And some we still see today. So we still see this in A2Ks. Didn't start 5 years ago with ASO. It started 30 years ago. No, 35, 40 years ago. So when you see Japan on a Wilson, you're like, oh, this sucks. Well, it may not be your cup of tea, and you may just love the U.S., and that's fine. But these were very well-designed gloves, very innovative stuff. So, I don't know, it's just always nice to see kind of the time, technology and ideas through time, and nice to see that when the American glove market was really kind of tanking with new ideas, that the Japanese market was doing a great job. And it was somewhat unfortunate that Rawlings took so long to try and go to the East to even develop ideas. Because, you know what? An Ozzie Smith 12-inch trapeze is more or less the same as the 1981, which is more or less the same as the 1971. Not a ton of innovation, just the same thing year after year. I guess it worked well. They still have 60-something% of the MLB market, but I've always been a fan of Japanese glove designs. My mother was a missionary in Japan, and she taught us always that the Japanese commitment to quality and function was basically unmatched. So imagine Germans making baseball gloves. That idea of very, very specific, and as opposed to German who tend to overthink a little bit and make the things complicated, all about function and movement. So I don't know, maybe that was a cool history lesson on a glove that was actually groundbreaking in a few ways. But anyway, I got to put it together now. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, and make it a lovely day.